you're sitting on the chair, just try to sense if your lower back is rounded, or is your lower back is straight, or maybe it's tilting forward. And gently put your hands on the lower back, on this kind of side lower back, and start moving a little bit, just a little bit forward and back, and feel the relationship between the roundness of your lower back and the arch in the lower back as you shift your weight on your sitting bone. There are many studies nowadays that shows that sitting for many, many hours, 8, 10, 12 hours a day, shortens our lifespan about 2 years. But if we keep on moving, we don't have to exercise hard, but if we just keep on moving in the chair, we increase our well-being, our health. We breathe better, the organs open up, there's room inside, and we live longer. So now kind of circle your hands forward and put them on the top of your hip and keep on doing the same thing, the gentle rocking back and forth. And see if you can translate in your mind's eye, how far am I going forward? And don't try to go further, just like what is the degree between my leg and my pelvis as I'm rocking forward. So when the hands were in the back, we felt how much the lower back is rounding. Now with the hands forward, we're trying to figure out in our brains, actually maybe in the mind, which is bigger than just brain, at least the way I see the words, how is the angle changes between the legs and the pelvis. Wonderful. And stop in the center. And if you're not at the edge of the chair, glide yourself to the edge of the chair where you can feel the sitting bone. It's like you're perching like a bird on a wire. You're perching on the edge of the chair. Your heels, your feet are wherever it is so you don't fall forward. And again, what is the angle? Now let's put one finger on the thigh, one finger on the hip, and roll back and feel how the distance between the fingers, it's like you feel the stretch. And when you come forward and drop in between your legs, the distance between your fingers gets smaller. And rock back, and the distance between your fingers lengthen, and there's a stretch. And as you come up, 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 and go forward, the distance between the fingers gets smaller. So now keep on doing it and see if you can coordinate your breathing rhythm with it. Maybe you want to exhale as you go back. Inhale when you come up. Exhale when you go back, forward. Inhale when you come up. And find an ease and comfort. And keep on doing it, but make it smaller. Let's say you're sitting in company at a dinner table. And you want to move, but you don't necessarily want for everybody to see you rocking. You know, it's not an exercise class. You're trying to find the movement deep inside your body. And in your mind's eye, you see it very fluid. So there is a very deep muscle in the body that has been talked about a lot and captures interest, and it's called the psoas, and it connects between the lumbar vertebrae, but in the front, all the way across the body diagonally, and attaches to the top of the femur inside the leg. And so it connects between the bottom of the body to the top of the body. So don't think about it as contracting and stretching. Think about it as breathing and exhaling. And find the fluidity of the connection between the bottom of your body to the top of the body. So now I'm not going to look at the camera for a minute because I want to sense it as I'm doing it. As I'm exhaling and I feel that fluidity come up, it's like a wave that comes up to my head. And as I'm inhaling and I'm going down, I feel the stability in my as and I exhale, there's the arch in the lower back, and my eyes and my neck are arching a little bit. My eyes are going just a little bit above the horizon. So there's a lot of things that happens if you allow the whole body to do it. So maybe start with a little bit bigger one where you can feel the roundness of the neck and the lumbar and the arching of the neck and the lumbar. You're still inhaling as you come up, you're exhaling on the movement. You inhale on the coming back to center, you exhale on the movement. And you don't have to be rigid about it, it's just like a guideline. So now as you find it, put your hands gently on your thighs and just see if you can do it smaller. Still do it, but much smaller. Where maybe on the outside it's barely noticeable. But you sense it all the way inside. Can you get your eyes to move very, very gently with the movement? Wonderful. The next exploration, we're going to put our hands on the sternum, on this bone in the center here. And when we go back, you're going to allow the hands to not press and push, just kind of glide down. You're not moving the hands, you're resting them, but you kind of direct the bone, the sternum, it's actually cartilage, not a bone. You direct it to soften, so your upper back, in between your shoulder blades, can move backwards as well. And when you inhale, you come back up. And we're going to go back again. Exhale and allow the hands to softly, softly, softly direct the sternum down and in. And see if your upper back between your shoulder blades is actually becoming a little bit more alive. So we have an exhalation with a softening of the chest, an inhalation where you can breathe into the upper parts of your lungs. Just allow the breath to come in. And exhale, you kind of like massaging your lungs. So we talked about the fluidity of the muscle that connects the bottom to the top. And now we are connecting maybe to the lungs through the sternum. Exhaling and allowing it to soften down and backwards. So the upper back is widening and softening, and inhaling to find center. Is your neck moving? Is your head moving? So now that you're finding it, slowly make it smaller and smaller, where you can still feel that when you exhale, there is a drop in the sternum, and when you inhale, there is an expansion of the sternum. And you can take your hands off And visualize the softening of the sternum. Maybe just put one finger. And inhale, and the sternum comes forward and up a little bit. And there's like, look at me, I belong here in life. And exhale. And inhale. So again, we are making the movement smaller and smaller. Think about yourself being in a gathering where you don't want people to notice necessarily that you're moving, but you want to keep on moving inside, be alive inside your body. So we're shifting from the paradigm of exercise is good for us, which it is, but just another way of looking at it, which is more internal, connecting to who we actually are. Wonderful. And come to center. Pa-pam, 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 pa-pam. So the heels, pa-pam, pa-pam, pam-pam. So you're bouncing the heels on the ground, getting the lymph system a little bit of a stimulation. Tam, ta-tam, 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 pa-pam, 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 pa-pam. Inhale. Close your eyes for a minute if you're comfortable doing it. And listen to the movement of the breath. How many parts of your body can you sense moving as you inhale? And as you exhale. As you inhale, how high up the ribcage do you feel the movement? How far down into the pelvis do you feel it? Do you feel the feet reacting as you inhale? So as you inhale, see if you can, the heels can become a little bit more, not pressing, but present. And exhale. So let's do a little bit of like more of an exercise. You're gonna inhale and you're gonna not press, but imprint your feet into the floor. And feel what your sitting bones are doing when you're doing that. So again, you inhale and you imprint your feet into the floor. Do you feel the lifting out of yourself? It's like as if you suddenly have a suspenders on your pants. And inhale and imprint the feet. So we're making tiny little movements today on the outside, but really very large movement from the inside. So now the feet are connecting us to the ground. As we inhale, we bypass that muscle that we worked with earlier, the psoas, and we exhale. There's no one right answer. I'd much rather be in a place of exploring, looking, finding or not finding. That's not the issue. The issue for me is more the exploration in being interested in my movement and being alive in my body. That's actually the message. So obviously the rocking of the pelvis will be very good for the aliveness within, where the pushing of the feet would be, and this eventually will be for taking me up. So there is functionality that we can break down, but right now I just want you to feel the movement internally. And not so much looking at results or what's right and what's wrong. Okay, now we're going to take our hands and we're going to put them on the thighs, above the knees, on the fleshy part of the thigh. And press your hands into the thigh and lift the heel just a little bit and let it go. And lift the heel and let it go. And lift the heel and let it go. And lift the heel. So again, we're not doing an exercise for the foot. We're not working on strengthening the foot. Not that mind. We're working on pressing the hands down as we're lifting the heels up. And what I would like you to start getting is the relationship between the leg and the pelvis. So as you're doing it, see if you can feel the transmission between the heel coming up to the rocking of the sitting bone, moving that hip. Is it moving it up? Is it moving it back? Is it moving it up and back? I don't know what you're talking about. I don't feel anything. Just keep on finding. It's all good. Just keep on looking. And stop the pressing with the hands. Let go of the hands. Lift the heel and lower it. Lift the heel and lower it. And see if you can get the movement of the leg to push this pelvis back, 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 back. Now we're going to lift the heel. We're going to take the hip back, and now we're going to pull the heel down, and we're going to allow the pelvis to come a little bit closer to the thigh, like we did in the beginning. So we're going to go back by lifting the heel, and we're going to come shorter by lowering the heel. And the heel will move together with the hip. So there's relationship between what we do in walking to what we do with the pelvis. Now it starts making a little bit more sense. Good, nice. Okay, let's go to the other leg. Put your hands above the knee on the fleshy part. If you had your right hand on top, try to maybe have your left hand on top now. Kind of what feels non-habitual, just to play a little bit with the brain. And you press your hand into the floor and you slightly lift the heel and you lower it. And you lift the heel and you lower it. And remember, we're not exercising, we're not trying to lift the heel high, we're just finding the response, the transmission of the weight, lifting the heel, and the pelvis on the left side will move. How does it move on this side? Do I have the same sensation and feeling and thought on this side as I did on the other side? Are my two sides working the same way? Probably not. We are not a Stanz. We're not a machine made. And lifelong habits and ways of walking and standing creates differences between the one side and the other. Okay, one more. And gently let go the pressure with the hands, release the hands. And we're going to lift the heel now and see if we can find that relationship between the lifting of the heel and the moving of the pelvis. Rocking on your sitting bone. So some days I give you more physical classes, but today I think I really wanted to get more internal. So now we're going to work with two legs, and we're going to go back to the fluidity of that muscle crossing from this area, crossing forward and attaching to the top of the leg. Actually, I can show it to you here. So it attaches to the vertebra here, coming across, sitting inside your belly. This is the ilium, and attaches to the top of the leg. So it connects between the leg and your spine. So we're on the edge of the chair with the sitting bones perching, kind of on the edge, and connect between the heel and that psoas muscle, coming all the way up, relating to the softness of the sternum, and the eyes may be drooping down, to the coming up as the heels are coming down and the sternum is opening up and forward. Not exaggerated. Nothing like, ta-da! Not that. Just that I'm here. I belong here. Sensation. And the fluidity and the softness of the sternum going through this liquidity streaming down in as the heel goes up and the heel goes down as I come up and the heel comes up as I go back. When is the right time for me to lower my heels? Where is the right time to start lifting my heels? Takes a lot of inner listening, but it feels so good, so luscious when you take the time to just become one with that internal movement and start slowing it down, making it smaller. Each time make it a little bit smaller until it's completely internal and you know you're doing it, but I don't see it. So that little bit of movement burns calories and keeps us moving internally, which is so healthy for us, especially as we age and we sit and sit and sit. And we sit in chairs that are designed for us to feel comfortable, so we don't even want to get up. Good. And now we're going to go from one heel to the next. So we're going to lift one heel and we're going to drop the other. And we're going to invite you to feel the walking of your sitting bones on the edge of the chair. If you're on a cushy chair, it's hard to feel. If you're on a hard chair, believe me, I feel it. I'm on a wooden chair. So instead of saying, ouch, I don't have enough padding and my butt is too small, I would find the fluidity and the softness of transferring the weight from one leg to the next. And there is like a small rotation of the pelvis from side to side as my legs, my heels are walking. Okay, so we are walking in the chair. And again, don't lift your heels really high. Just give it enough pump. So you can do it without the pelvis, no problem. But feel how much more fluid and organic and connected it is when you actually doing it with the pelvis. So let's play a little bit. So lift your left heel a little bit and take your right hip forward, backwards, and now take your right hip forward and take your right hip backwards and forward and back and forward and back and forward. So you're sliding great, and rest the heel and rest the pelvis. Lift your right heel and start moving your left hip back and forward, left and forward. And the only thing I will ask that you pay attention that your knee is going also back and forward and not falling in to the center. Back and forward, 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 and lower the heel. Lift the left heel and take your right hip forward. Change and take your left hip forward. Change and take your right hip forward. Change and take your left hip forward. So work in opposition and feel how your spine is now starting to rotate over your pelvis. So if you allow your arms to be free, let's start it again. Lift your left heel and take your right hip forward and change 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 and change, and make it faster. Good, wonderful. And sit comfortably a little bit and put your hands on your thighs and go back into that going back and center and forward and center and exhale and center and forward, exhale and center and exhale and center and forward and up. Thank you so very much. I hope that was meaningful to you. I'll see you next time.